All right, welcome again to Talent Drive Live. Alex, how are you, my friend? I am so sorry for being tardy.
That is absolutely fine. That is absolutely
Summer and
fine.
all good things, but I
You know,
appreciate the time. It's good to talk to you. How are things in the Alex Mayer world?
always be selling. Things are good. Things are good. I have just been doing a lot of reading, a lot of just getting my head around all these new fangled bits of tech. So
Oh,
we're
any newfangled bits of tech you want to talk about and bring to the audience?
I think that context of recruiting, talent acquisition, it's interesting. The future of search engine optimization in that space because
Mm.
the playbook is going to be so rewritten in the next 12 months that going to be an interesting time for content creation for sure. In terms of creating
Is it search engine optimization or LLM engine optimization?
well, they call it AEO or GEO. So like GEO is Generative Engine Optimization. There's always a new acronym, but
Generative engine optimization.
yeah, and we can link it. I put a post on my LinkedIn during the week, was like last week, saying, "Is anybody who are experts in this GEO, can I speak to them?" And I spoke to a bunch last week just to get my head around it. And it seems, although small today, it's just a reimagining of what SEO is going to be like as search evolves, and specifically along the lines of it's no longer as time goes on, it'll be less about clicks, as in getting a click from your link, if that makes sense, appearing in page one of search, to how will your content be crawled by an LLM or by like OpenAI or Gemini or whichever that will be in the box, if that makes sense, when the query is made. Because Google search obviously now has the AI generated box for Gemini, and it is effectively pushing all the search results down outside of the fold, outside of the screen, either on your phone or on your laptop, and you'll get more of an AI generated response. And same with OpenAI, with the more people that use OpenAI or Perplexity for what used to be Google searches, now will be like bringing forward consolidated answers with like links to sources where they find the information, if that makes sense, as opposed to the Google search where you click to find out the information on someone's website. And I find it fascinating because it is already taking about 10% of market share today. I mean, that seems huge to me. So, like, where that's going to be in 18 months, bad news. So, there's a great post by an Irish marketer called Kieran Flanagan. And I'll link, I sent you the link as well, but we can add it to the notes. And it basically talks about how visits and clicks are like disappearing, that the reimagining of what you need to do for your content marketing is going to change and how you construct what it's going to be. And basically, and I would tend to agree with this, that if there's going to be less visits and less clicks from content marketing, that basically implies that there's going to be a lot more video content created and a lot more money spent on ads to drive specific traffic to your website. And so whether Perplexity or OpenAI ever add ads to their platform, or whether there'll be a premium on Meta ads and LinkedIn ads and whichever to drive more people to your website, to drive more qualified traffic to your website, is the likely outcome of a lot of this sort of stuff. And your search is going to be way more in terms of like your brand building, like answering the questions. And I spoke to a very good friend of mine. I know I'm talking a lot here, so forgive me, but I spoke to another friend of mine who's a PhD, another Irish guy who's based in San Francisco, a guy called Chris Kelly. And he basically was what they do, what his sort of like thesis is, that like he works with brands to identify gaps in, say, your Coca-Cola, for example. What would people be searching in an LLM for with regards to something like Coca-Cola? And then designing what the questions would be, and then trying to see if you're getting answers to that within the query itself across the different, like, the different AI products, and then creating the content that will then be surfaced for those sorts of queries within. So we're in a very nascent sort of space right now, but if it's, say, at around 10%, you could imagine that it's only going to grow, in particular as Gemini kind of starts taking over Google search. So yeah, that's
Where are you
it.
building to get built into this ecosystem? Or are you putting code into your headers and footers of your website? Or
Yeah, there
are
are
you having to get like API tokens? Is there a new Google Analytics that now
there
that
isn't, and this is the thing, this is what I mean by a nascent space. So a lot of the tools, like there's a company called Profound that effectively analyzes sort of the LLM traffic, and I say in inverted commas because like how they identify that traffic, I'm not quite sure. My friend Chris Kelly is building one of these. I'm working with a lot of brands on this, and effectively, it's like everything is net new. And so this is where people are trying to figure out, like, there isn't with something like Ahrefs or Google Search Console, you can see the kind of volume of keywords. You can't see that with AI tools today. So you don't even know what the volume is. So you have to basically like, what would be the things that people would be searching for your business on an LLM, and then start designing answers for that, and then growing and evolving. And then as more tools come to market for this space, we'll see more of a robust sort of like tracking and identification and more robust analytics with regards to this. But yeah, wild. It's been a
would you predict then that we would see a lot of growth in terms of marketing analytics and marketing analytic tools within this space in the future?
I mean, not something I thought about until you just literally asked me that question. But I would have no doubt that we will see a lot of analytics platforms for this. I mean, there's no doubt that in SEO today, you've got Bright Edge, you've got Ahrefs, you've got SEO Moz or Moz or whatever they want to call it. Like
SEO broad.
yeah, you know what I mean? There's loads of these tools, and they're the main ones, but there's a lot of niche tools within that space as well. I would imagine that either they're going to reconfig to have this GO, the generative engine optimization sort of analytics, or that there'll be new nascent products like Profound that will become sort of de facto tools for a lot of marketing teams to use. But I think it's interesting in the context of creating content because not only now do you have to think about, I need to rank for a keyword or like a bunch of keywords in the way that we create content today to that's not the same strategy as an LLM understanding what's in your content and then being able to summarize it enough for the LLM to produce an answer for somebody. So it's a very interesting time for that because I think it upends the sort of the typical kind of playbook that people have in mind when it comes to content marketing. And that's not to suggest as well that say this kind of content that we're creating here, which is used primarily for say like LinkedIn and trying to light a fire under the LinkedIn algorithm to be seen is not the same as creating that sort of here's my case study. I want that to rank. Here's my white paper that we want to rank. Here's a blog post on the state of AI and recruiting that we wrote. Yes, you want that to rank on page one of Google, but you also want to appear in a geo sort of ranking in a geo answer. And then that's like obviously you retool and rethink how you actually your approach to content itself.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. A lot of big changes coming within technology. Entire old platforms and infrastructures are being upended as new ones are being built on the I guess the very wealthy, bogged down by tech debt ruins of the
Yeah.
past. Because somebody was telling me that Google Analytics now, it's not even worth investing any time to learn because it's all broken and it's just not as good as it used to be. It's in its peak maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Would you attest to that?
I was never a believer anyway. So
No.
yeah,
Ooh, spicy. Never a believer in Google Analytics around marketing in the first place.
I genuinely I will say this. There are so many tools. And what's it telling me? It's telling me that yeah, fine, people who click links to things. There's a whole swath of people who find your website that are not coming from clicks. So like the vast majority are not coming from clicks. It doesn't tell you anything about SEO. So like I'm like, what value is it giving me? Oh, this is where the traffic comes from. There's a lot of vanity metrics. And look, I know people can build amazing things inside of Google Analytics and they can build funnels and things. But I've worked at a lot of complex kind of conversion. I've worked with a lot of companies that have complex conversion hacking and metrics set up. And it was never the tool I would use. I've been able to companies use Amplitude. I've been at companies use Mixpanel. I've used companies that like would use segment as the unique identifier for people coming to the website and then
Yeah.
piping that into different systems, Looker, whatever. Google Analytics has never been a very serious tool in anything. And I've worked in media agencies where, I mean, now this is going back to 2013 and 2014 where data tracking, sort of CMP, customer, or what do they call it again? Customer management, CDPs, customer data platforms, whichever, like omniture analytics, these kind of these mega massive tools. Like Google Analytics is never in that conversation ever. And
Right.
we're talking about companies that were spending 10, $50 million a year on paid media. You know what I
Right.
mean? They're not chump change. So it's just never been a part of the stack, although everybody always has it set up. And it's a nice to have. Sure.
Well, thank you for that GTM update from Mr. Alex Mann, keeping us on the right of the tip of the edge in terms of what's happening in the go to market. I did want to mention I watched an interesting kind of opposing point video, and I'll put a link in the comments when we post this video eventually. There's a video with an MIT economist and Nobel laureate, Darren Asimoglu. I'm going to say it.
Somewhat, yeah.
Asimoglu, who was discussing the real economic impact of AI and really wanted to cut through the hype surrounding it. And he was taking very much of an opposing viewpoint to what Dario from Anthropic is saying. And a lot of people are saying about how AI is going to completely disrupt white collar work. And just a few key points. He feels that AI is going to have limited economic impact. He presented a paper called The Simple Macroeconomics of AI and estimated that over the next decade, only about 5% of all tasks will be profitably automated by AI. And it will contribute about 1% to global GDP. So he contrasts that with other analysts. And I think that he might be like really far on the other end of the bell curve, right? And so you've got you got the doomers who are way over to the right. Everybody's losing their jobs. Everything's gone. And this guy's way over to the left, like nothing's going to happen. And I think that we all know it's going to probably end up somewhere, I think more towards where this dude is than other ones, because you can't fully trust AI systems to operate autonomously as of this podcast, right? If you let them go wild and you don't watch what they're doing, you're going to just create a lot more problems and headaches that you're going to have to, I think, fix. Now, I could be wrong.
Yeah, you know what? I would agree with you. I don't it's like a creative destruction problem here. Are we gonna see end-to-end AI in a lot of the manual processes that exist in the vast majority of businesses till as of this podcast? No. Are we gonna see that in 5 years? No, but AI will automate away some of those problems. You know what I mean? I don't believe that it's a human wrecking ball. I think it's great for the narrative of firing people.
Yeah.
Like, when you hear of like PE companies saying, "Oh, we can take like a bunch of these 20 to 50 size people startups," and because it gives a value to them in the sense like, okay, cool, this company's never going to raise any more capital. The startup is grown as far as it can grow, but we could have 20 people plus AI. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like, what kind of optimization, what kind of reconfiguring of that business can we do? And there's obviously a ton of hype, but like, for this is just early doors of the internet. That's where we are now. The pets.com moment, of course we are. Like, is Perplexity going to be pets.com? Who knows? Do you know what I mean? But there will be a poster child for this that is going
I
to
think that should be the title of this podcast. Is Perplexity going to be the pets.com? Yeah, that's a
well, that's
really
even harsh for Perplexity.
challenge.
It could be OpenAI. You know what I mean? It could be any of them. Like, it, I mean, it's so unreal.
Well, what was that one that just went Builder.ai?
Well, that
I
wasn't
think
even real.
Doran was just talking about that. They took all this money and said they were AI, and it was really just like 2,000 people in India. I think
Yeah.
Microsoft invested in them or something like that.
Wax me up, that one, you know what I mean? Genuinely, it makes me I don't even know where to begin with the builder guys. Like, the fact that they got away with that, the fact that, like, they were other portfolio companies, they were just sending invoices to each other to look like they had revenue, like, like, wild. And I mean, look, he deserves all the hate and potential legal shit that comes his way, like, 1,000%, because it's just, like, complete misrepresentation. But there's always gonna be fucking what's the phrase? Snake oil salesman in this space, because
Yeah.
it's just a rush.
The thing that annoys me about technology the most are all the snake oil salesmen in it. They're just everywhere. And obviously you're gonna find them wherever there's money, wherever there's an opportunity to make a quick buck. And I think that's the biggest thing that anybody who's interested in technology, working in technology, being in technology, really needs to start to get a good bullshit meter in terms of it took me a while. And honestly, it took me working in startups. I remember one startup I worked at, they really talked a big game, but they were desperate for an infrastructure engineer.
Yeah.
And so I found one. And then the minute I brought that dude in, he was stressed every moment I saw him after that. And then we went out to a video game night or something, and I was riding in a car with him, and he's this fucking thing is built with rubber bands and paper clips behind the scenes. And you hear that about a lot of prominent even technology platforms. Like
Yeah.
they're in such a rush the early days to build something and gain buzz and raise money that they end up building like a growth person just left Dropbox because apparently said that there's some like decisions that were made early that are endemic to the product deep inside of it that create like a negative growth loop with the stage that they're at. And one of their growth people just left and basically complained about it on the way out. And it's something that's happening to SaaS as it evolves over the decades, right? We're starting to see the long-term effects of a lot of decisions that were made in a rush of venture funding and a race to be preeminent.
Yeah. And I mean, like, again, this isn't anything new. I mean, fake it till you make it has been like Tyrannos and a bunch of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this has been like the way, and we celebrate it when it's pulled up. You know what I mean? And that's just the inverse. That's just the kind of bizarreness. But you know what's interesting? You're saying about people like effectively bullshitting this stuff, and Snake was hesitant. I saw a great tweet from Jason Lemkin yesterday, and he basically he tweeted and he said, "Did a demo today of the enterprise edition of a well-known AI product. Sales rep did not know what MCP is,
Mm.
had never heard of Claude, but said, 'My guys will look into it.' Said, 'Your secret to being good at AI was really sick prompts.' Then just threw up a pricing slide." And I laughed when I saw that because I was like, there
We
are
talked about model context protocol. I think I told you about it like back in April.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
editing your videos. I just edited one of the videos where I was talking to you about it. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's there are so many people. That's where we are in this wave. We're so early, and that's what I mean by this is like we're in like when is the pet.com era? Because it's like literally the people
It's
selling
phones.
this don't even know what it is they are selling fundamentally. You know what I mean? They have
Yeah.
a script, follow the script, sell it, and he's a smart guy. He gets it. He's a brilliant like
You'd be
investor.
surprised. I meet
You
other
know?
CEOs. One of my first questions always is, "Oh, what's your tech stack? What's your product built on?" And it's always interesting, like the ones who are like, "Oh, I don't know that." I'm just like, "Oh, wrong answer.
Yeah, totally.
Wrong
And it's
answer, my friend. I can tell you exactly how our product is built." And so if you want to work in tech, this is a great time to get into it because AI can ease your way into it. I was working before our call today, and the reason we were late is because I got sucked in basically creating the website copy for our updated website because we've got
nice.
so much we need to communicate and just as simple a manner as possible. It's not as easy as it looks, but I've never done this before, but I'm doing it actively, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote an entire website on a 4-hour bus once where I was so stuck.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I wasn't what the company was, but, like, I was I didn't know what it was. But I basically had put it off for so long, and this is before the AI chat, "Hey, ChatGPT, here's the framework for my website, just go write it." Like, and it takes a lot of focus because you're like, "What is in God's name am I trying to say here? And how do I say it succinctly? And how do I say it in such a way that the pages look the same with a few different products or whatever, that you have the same framework, hero, sub-hero, as simple as 1, 2, 3." And then I was on a bus ride and I was like, "It's now or never, buddy. You gotta do this because I don't have the patience or the wherewithal or the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the headspace to sit down for 4 hours in
Yeah.
my own write something." But, yeah, man, I mean and obviously no qualms being
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you, here's some good news I see with this Darren interview, and I also saw an interview with Jan LeCun, who's like head of AI for Facebook.
Yep.
And he basically, Jan is saying LLMs,
He was the founder of WhatsApp, wasn't he?
right? Yeah. And he's saying LLMs are not what's going to get us to AGI straight out. So I feel like we may have hit a plateau in terms of limiting level and where we've now hit this level of AI where they're going to maybe keep fine tuning it, improving it, but it's not going to be a foundational leap like an AGI would be or an SI after that.
Well, I mean, isn't it all the rage right now with the hiring binge that Meta is going on? But I think,
Which you want SI.
yeah, I think to augment your point,
Yeah.
I think to support your opinion there, I think you're dead right. I mean, like, why would Facebook be spending $100 million or whatever the hell the value of these people is? You know what I mean? Like insane salaries that they're up. It whatever. The media narrative is that they're offering these people at $100 million salaries as if they're sports people. Okay, if it is possible, then yeah. But he's not hiring them to make a ChatGPT clone. You know what I mean? That's not what he's paying for. Like he's paying for. There's obviously another level that they're trying to build to, and that is why they're spending so much money on these guys, and
But
that's
if they created a sentient intelligence, like, they're literally letting the genie out of the bottle. I tell you, if this was a movie, what would happen would be that it would come out and it would get the key to all the DNS servers that Facebook controls, and it would start rewriting the tool.
have you seen
It would probably destroy all of their monetization. It would optimize perhaps for safety. I mean, it would be a crazy movie, to watch, to imagine what would happen. We let the
well
genie out of the bottle like that.
well, I will say this, you've seen Terminator 2, yeah? It and you know who the Dr. Miles was it Dr. Miles Bison or Dr. Miles Dyson? The guy who had the arm.
Yeah.
What did he do? What did he do? What was his role in the Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
He created something, didn't he?
He was the one that had the arm of the original Terminator in reverse engineer. But what did he do when the Terminator showed up? The whole factory. He was like, he saw the
Oh.
whole ways
Oh,
and he
yeah,
goes,
that's right, yeah.
"We can't unleash Skynet." I've gotta say, I cannot imagine any company in Silicon Valley having that ethical moment of clarity.
So, in terms of the AI buzz, right? Once again, I think that humanity is not necessarily gonna do what you think it's gonna do. I see people are now being made fun of if it's determined that you're using AI for social media or LinkedIn posts, which to me is discriminatory because if you're neurodivergent, AI helps you organize your thoughts. So why would you discriminate against me?
I've never thought about it that way, but I will tell you what grinds my gears is when I see the M dash, which is everyone because the whole model is trained on the New York Times, that everyone seems to write like that they're an opinion writer at the New York Times now. But that M dash irritates me on such a cellular level, especially when I see it on LinkedIn. I'm like, dude, no, you're getting no engagement from me if I see an M dash. None.
You're so hooked. Well, Alex Mann is anti M dash. And just a few final points from Darren's talk. Essentially, he just feels that it's easy to learn versus hard to learn tasks. AI is really good for little in the loop in companies, but anything that's complex or involves tacit knowledge, textual understanding, or social interaction, it's beyond its capabilities. Yet, well, there will be no occupation elimination within the next 5 to 10 years, which I think is interesting and maybe a bit too progressive. And is pro-human AI development, which is obviously the stand that we take. It's not about eliminating humans, but about enabling us to do so much more and have more fulfilling lives, I think, while working with AI to reduce the clutter and perhaps
Yeah.
the complexity.
One thing I would say, a critique of this video that I actually watched last weekend, nerded out. One of the things that the key point that I take away is he talks about there's not enough apps or applications to sustain the level of investment into to grow it to the extent that it believes that will have such a kind of lightning change in sort of global GDP. And I'm like, dude, when the iPhone was released, there were no public apps. Like remember the phrase jailbreaking an iPhone was a thing? And then they realized, whoa, everyone can just build apps on this thing for us and we can charge them 30%. That's where we are. You know what I mean? It's like we don't even know. What's the breakthrough app for AI is ChatGPT. Like that's everyone's first dipping their toes. Like my mom asked me about it this. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know what? She's almost 70. Like this is big. Like this is big. That's just one app. You know what I mean? That's just one application of what this whole thing can do. We talk about workflow optimization. We talk about MCPs. We talk about all this stuff that exists under the hood. And that's what my takeaway from us, Mug, is like, lecture was, dude, you don't work in this space. You don't see what we see. You don't understand the different, like, game-changing application that all of this can do to not only free up time for people to do more knowledge work, inverted commas, but to actually completely upend the way people do the job itself. Like, I always like, take something.
You tired of always working for shitty
Yeah,
bosses?
like,
Start your own company and show people what a boss should be.
this is the thing, like, as in, just because today it's small doesn't, like, in any shape or form for me go, dude, like, it is, like, staring us in the face, and I have never felt this way. Really, maybe the last time was, like, the iPhone. When you saw a device like that and you were like, "Oh my god, this thing is going to
Yeah.
literally change the world," and it did, for better or worse. Like,
It's worthy you need the wisdom of your Gen X leaders to remind you, Alex, constantly that the internet was built to be decentralized.
well, that's, I mean, that could be a whole other episode. We could.
We could probably finish that thought. It was built to be decentralized. Some people came along, they centralized a bunch of resources, they made it really easy to use because they were good at writing code, and they made themselves billionaires as a result. But just because that was then doesn't mean that needs to be in the future. So, on that note, Talent Grind Live, Michael Doran, Alex Mann, thank you very much for joining us. Alex, a pleasure as
You're a
always.
legend. Thank you.